We have 4 problems that we're going to look at, and then we are done with 2.3. 2, and really all of 2.3. Now what we're going to do is we're going to identify the vertex, focus, directx, and axis of symmetry of the parabola. We're not going to worry about describing the transformation. Well, they already have it set up in y equals, so we know it's going to be the same as our y equals equation. Now, there are a few things that it does give us automatically. So what 2 values do we know for sure? H and K. Because H would be 3. Because inside the parentheses, it's x minus H. Since it's x minus 3 inside, the value of H is going to be 3. Now, the value of K would be positive 2. Now, the only thing we're missing is P, because once we get P, we will have everything we need for the vertex, focus, directrix, and axis of symmetry. Now, kind of like what we dealt with the other day, what is lining up with the 1 over 4P? So if I want to solve for P, I can say that 1 over 4P is equal to 1 over 8. What can we do first? Multiply both sides by 4P. You can say 4P over 8. Because the 4P will only multiply with the numerator. Because really we could say that we're multiplying by 4P over 1. 4P times 1 on top is 4P. The 8 times 1 on bottom would just be 8. Now we can simplify this here if we want. What is 4 over 8? 1/2, so we have P over 2. Last but not least, because we could divide both sides by 1/2, or we can multiply both sides by 2. It'll do the same thing. 2 equals P, or P is equal to 2. Questions on this here? Yeah, that 2 really does look like a capital cursive Q. Any questions on how we found H, K, or P? Okay, I'm going to erase this here so I have a little more room. Now, vertex. Well, for either one, it's just H, comma, the value of H is, and the value of K is 2. Focus. Let's see here. Almost, because it's H. 3, comma, so 2 plus 2 would be 4. K plus P and H. H, K. Directx. Well, it's Y equals, this should be K minus P, and it is. So it'd be 2 minus 2, which is axis of symmetry. X equals 3. Okay. Questions on any of this here? Now, again, as I said, and y'all have kind of seen with this here, it's very easy to switch Like with the focus, is it going to be h plus p comma k, or is it going to be h comma k plus p? Yes? It's kind of easy to flip those two. Now, with the focus, because we saw it in the graphs, it's what? Inside the parabola, yes? If we do have y equals, where's the parabola opening? Is it opening up or down, or left to right? Up and down, right? Because that's y equals. So, if the focus is going to be inside the parabola, we're taking from the vertex and we'd be either doing what? Moving it up or moving it down, right? So what's that affecting? The y, yes? Because if it's opening left or right, we're going to have to move it to the left or right for it to stay inside the parabola, yes? So it's affecting the x. Now we noticed and looked at the Directx in some of the equations, because it was always a straight line, either underneath the parabola. So if it's going up and down, it goes straight underneath it. Now, let me just draw a picture. Because if this was the parabola, we said the focus would be in here. And the Directx would be this line underneath it like this here, yes? Now if I had a graph like this here, well, we know the focus would be inside. How would I draw the Directx? Because it would be a line. Up and down, right? Well, up and down would be what? X equals, isn't it? Okay, so if it's opening left, we know x equals the equation. Well, the Directx should be x equals, yes? Well, axis of symmetry is going to cut through it, so it'd be y equals. Y'all kind of see how this works? I figured this out like this week. And this is something because I've always been trying to figure out what are better ways to remember it and think about it. And I finally just started thinking about the graph itself. How is it working? How is it operating? Well, okay, if we can start thinking it somewhat in this, that kind of does help us to make sure, okay, how am I picturing it? Okay, this is how it's working. But also, if I were y'all, I'd just write that down on the review sheet. Yes. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'm just thinking through it, and it's just either that or I'm actually thinking about it, or there's a lot of the times it's really in the back burner, kind of subconscious thought, and every now and then I will have those little moments where a light bulb will finally click and it makes sense. And sometimes it's just questions. Because y'all asking a question about something finally helps me to where I see it in a different light and something makes a little more. Let's look at the last three. So this one here, we have another y equals. Well, it's matching up to our 1 over 4p, parentheses x minus h squared plus k. Well, what would the value of h be? The value of k. Now we just need to find the value of p. So we're saying 1 over 4p is equal to negative 1 over 4. Yeah. Since the numerators are both 1, we could say that 4p is equal to negative 4, because since the tops are both 1, we can set the denominators equal to each other. Now, if we do multiply both sides by 4p, well, the 4p and 4p here will cancel out, leaving us with 1. Over here, the 4 and 4 will simplify out, leaving us with, early we can say p is equal to negative 1. Now, what would our vertex be? Negative 2 and 1. Now the focus is going to be h comma k plus p. So negative 2 comma 1 plus negative 1 is? The Directx would be y equals k minus p. 1 minus negative 1. Well, 1 plus p was 0. 1 minus negative 1. The negative and negative make a. So 1 minus negative 1 is 2. And the axis of symmetry is x equals h, which would be. And that's it. Questions on this here? So looking at this here, we have x equals 1/16 times y minus 3 squared plus 1. What's the value of h? Because in the general form, k is inside the parentheses and h is outside. Now k would be 3. Does anybody have a guess at what p would be? Because if we went and solved it, it'd be 1/16 equals 1 over 4 p. We can multiply both sides by 4p. These would cancel, give us 1. Here, the 4 and 16 would simplify to p over 4. And we multiply both sides by 4, we get p is equal to 4. Vertex. So h comma k, which would be 1 comma 3. Now the focus is p comma k, h plus p comma k. So 1 plus 4 is comma 3. Directx is x is equal to negative 3, h minus p, so 1 minus 4. Because 1 minus 4 would be negative 3, because our h minus k. Now, if it is helpful to write them out, go on and write them out. And the last one, the axis of symmetry, would be y equals 3. Questions on this here? We good with this here? Do we need to see another example on one of these?
Can we do this one?
Yeah, we can do this one. Which one? Okay. H, K, P. So what's the value of H? Negative 3. The value of K? Negative 5. Now, our 1 over 4p goes in front of those parentheses that are being squared, yes? Well, it's telling me that it is. 1 is equal to 1 over. So we would multiply both sides by 4p because those would cancel, telling me that 4p is equal to 1. And then last but not least, we would divide both sides by 4, telling me p is equal to 1/4. Vertex. -3, -5. Now the focus, because it is y equals, would be our h comma k plus p. So h would be, now k plus p, -5 plus 1/4. Well, really we could say that this is -20/4 plus 1/4, which I think the calculator tells us is -19/4 if we plug it in. Directx. Y equals. So instead of, so we'll have -5 minus 1/4. Well, that's -20/4 minus 1/4, which would be -21/4. And last but not least, the axis of symmetry would be x equals -3. And that would be it. Yes, sir. Sure, I'll take the decimal form as long as it's not in an improper form. So as long as we don't have fractions in fractions or decimals in fractions, that works. I mean, if we wanted to do for the Directx as -5 1/4, I'll take that, or -5.25, I would take that. Because for the focus, we could actually say that this is -4 3/4, because we took 1/4 away, or -4.75, will still be the same answer. As long as we don't have a decimal inside the fraction or fractions inside the fraction, you can have them as an impartial fraction, a mixed number, or a decimal. Any of those three. Any other questions on this here? All right. Your homework is a worksheet.